Good morning, calling all business owners and entrepreneurs. So, big question today. In your business, do you have terms and conditions? Now, I know that this is not the most exciting of topics, but it's an important one. So, in terms of when I'm working with clients and I'm looking on the business planning, it isn't just about setting goals. Of course, that's all very important. It's important to have a business growth plan. All of these things are important, but it's also important to look at things like the business structure. It's important to look at what other key documents other than what I call a business growth plan. What other key documents should you have in place to ensure that you protect your business? And to me, this is all part of the whole business planning, systemizing your business. So terms and conditions are a crucial part of that. Now, I know that as a lawyer, we had a lot of variations. We had a client care letter as well as terms of business, and depending on what area of law we would, it would be adjusted, etc. But I would really be interested to know, calling to those business owners, how many of you do you actually have terms and conditions in place? And then the next question I have is, do you rely on those terms and conditions? Have you ever had to be in a situation with a client where you refer to specific clauses? Are you actually sending those terms out or making sure that your clients or customers are aware of those terms? Are you getting even a signature, for example, in terms of to confirm? Now, the one thing that I think is important to note is you don't necessarily have to have a signature for those terms and conditions to be legally binding. And that's sometimes often something that gets forgotten about. The other part is there is a contract in place, even if there hasn't got anything written. If you have been paid for services or you've been instructed to undertake services, there's been a payment, effectively the very, very bare basics of a contract is offer, acceptance, consideration, going back to my contract law days, right? Now, if those things, and there's a few other little bits, but they're the key parts, that if you've offered to provide services, that offer has been accepted and you have been paid, there is a contract in place. It just gets messy when it comes to arguing what those terms are. So it is always, always advisable to ensure that you've got your terms written down. So the next question I have is, if you've got terms and conditions, and I really would love to hear your comments. So please make sure that you put in the comments whether you've got terms and conditions. On LinkedIn the other day, I did a poll, really want to know the answer to this, right? But the next question is, the actual terms and conditions that you're using, how did they come about? Did you go to a lawyer to get them drafted, or you might have got a template from something like the Federation of Small Businesses, or have you literally Googled terms and conditions and cobbled something together? Now, I often put my head in my hands a little bit when I hear the statement, oh, I've cobbled it together from the internet, because ultimately I see this so often where most people, they don't necessarily realize the purpose of certain clauses and the importance of certain clauses. And there are certain clauses that then get missed, or the way that the language is put together is not particularly clear. So I would always advise, wherever possible, have your terms and conditions drafted by a lawyer to ensure that you are protected as far as possible. But there are other reasons why, in terms of having terms and conditions, it's not just about protecting you and your business. It also protects your customer, because they then know where they stand. I think, and ultimately, it's protecting against unnecessary risk. Now, other reasons in terms of why terms and conditions are so important is, I believe that they provide reassurance and certainty for your customer, as both parties then know where they stand. You've then got the issue in terms of the limit of liability, because ultimately you will put in your terms and conditions what's the maximum liability that you will be liable for if things go wrong. Usually it's up to the value of the contract price. But it also cuts the likelihood of expensive litigation. Because ultimately, if you know exactly where you stand and those terms and conditions are crystal clear, it means that effectively there is no argument there. Now, this doesn't always happen because unfortunately, sometimes people will ignore those terms and conditions and do what they want regardless. And, it can, I'm not saying it avoids litigation altogether, but it can potentially reduce the risk because ultimately any legal disputes are not only stressful, they're costly, they can be harmful to your reputation, and they drain resources unnecessarily. And you want to avoid those litigation situations wherever possible. And this is coming from somebody who used to be a former litigation solicitor. So, and even then, I would always try and avoid it getting into the court arena and trying to resolve it. But ultimately, sometimes there is no other choice. And of course, the other part is that it gives customers confidence. It helps manage their expectations. They kind of feel like, they know where you stand, they know what the actual delivery, the quality, etc. And then you've also got it's setting out clear terms such as delivery, return. It just gives more confidence in people. It just gives it does give more people more confidence. So yeah, terms and conditions are a really important part of the jigsaw puzzle of running a business. So if I would love to hear your comments. I would love to know whether you have these terms and conditions in place. How have you actually put them together? Have you sought advice? Please put some comments in here, and also please do share this out to your network. And of course, if you are interested in being able to have a template for your terms and conditions, then please do put a comment or just DM me and I can see how I can help you get those terms and conditions in place. So hopefully you found today's live of value, and I shall see you all very soon. Take care now.